signing in with IntellectualRadio.com. This is my first show. And everybody out there who's tuning in, I want to make reference to my theme song. I have to do that. The theme song is from a group out of Hyattsville, Maryland called the Metro Singers. Very, very good song. I love that. That is my favorite spiritual song. It's called Steal Away. And all you have to do is go to YouTube, type in Steal Away Metro Singers, and you would be able to hear it. And I want to thank Myron Otley for letting me use that as my theme song. But I want to talk to you tonight about, first of all, I want to open up with a short prayer for all of the people in Mexico where they had the earthquake, people in the islands, the Virgin Islands, and of course here in America with hurricanes Irma and Harvey. We're going to petition the Heavenly Father. We're going to petition the Lord. We're going to petition Him to bring about a miraculous recovery in those areas. And also, I'm going to read a little bit of a Solomon's Prayer for Black communities et al. You can find that on the website we-grow.net, we-grow.net. You can read the Solomon's Prayer for Black communities in its entirety. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to read a segment. Just in case, for those who don't know, King Solomon is regarded as one of the wisest rulers, if not one of the wisest men in the world. He was the king of Israel at one time, and there were two women, both claiming to be the mother of an infant. And not knowing which one was telling the truth, King Solomon ordered the execution of the infant, told his swordsman to cut the child in half and give each one of the woman half of the infant. King Solomon, discerning, knowing, being as wise as he was, knew that the true mother would spring forth, and rather than have the child executed, would give the child up to the woman who she knew was not the real mother. And that happened. She did. She sprung forth and told King Solomon to spare the child, just let the child go to the other woman. And King Solomon wisely and correctly knew that that was the proper thing to do in order to find out who the true mother was. And his wisdom spread throughout the land. His wisdom spread throughout the land and even went into the annals of history. That's in the Bible, the Holy Bible, as you know. But I'm going to just read a short segment of that prayer that a Solomon's Prayer for America's Black communities et al. Our prayer for the Black communities in America and elsewhere is to give us a discerning heart so that we may bond in a spiritual relationship with you, and from this union, wait upon you to release us the understanding of how to treat and respect one another. The agenda that I've been working on for the last 3 years is a agenda that intends to change the character of the Black community. My show is called Black Community Unity. But really, I wanted to call the show Changing the Character of the Black Community. But it was too long. But that's what we want. So I wanted to also share with you tonight one of some information that you're probably not aware of, that a lot of people in other places are. I've been calling Black churches all across the country, local Black community newspapers all over the country here for newspapers for about the last year, churches longer than that. Many times have passed out, and pastors will attest to it, passed out information, 50 flyers with information that I'm going to share with you to 50 churches on the west side of Chicago, 50 churches on the south side, numerous times. So some pastors will tell you, yeah, well, Kelsey, he does stuff like that, but that's okay. So here on this board right here, one thing that I want to share with you is another concept about Black male leadership. I call it Black male group leadership. I took this concept to New Orleans over the July 4th holiday because I knew a lot of black people would be there from all over the country, and they were from Detroit, from Denver to Houston, Chicago, you name it. They were there, Atlanta. And I also had a brief stop in Atlanta to share this uh, concept of black male group leadership. That does not mean that we're trying to oust any of our spokespersons who are renowned as being uh, spokespersons for the black community for many years, have taken upon many causes. No, we don't want that. We still need them. But black male group leadership um, involves the concept of having me, having you, having the average person take on roles of leadership. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. It could just be something as mere as cleaning up the paper in front of your house every day. Being a part of a national group leadership effort uh, gives you a different, gives people a different viewpoint about you. Your girlfriend, your wife look at you a different way. You're viewed differently in the community, the black community. The advantages of black male group leadership are, and I have them listed here, that gives us the sheer numbers that we need in order to move the agendas that we want to embark upon, whether it's economic, whether it's social, it could be voting. It gives us the numbers that we're going to need to move our activities and our interests. It also gives us the spiritual, in effect, one and two are basically the same spiritual, economic, and social agenda power. It gives us that type of national agenda readiness. We're ready now. If we're unified, if we understand, if we're committed to become unified, that gives us that national agenda readiness to pursue issues, for example, like what we're going through right now, the issue of violence in black communities. Uh, if black, what I'll tell you who really likes this concept of black male group leadership, black women are enamored by this concept. The black women that I talked to, especially in New Orleans, was, yeah, if you know what's taking you all so long, we've been waiting for you all to do this for 100 years. If you all lead, we will follow. I suggest to you that if black males lead in our communities, there are no options. Everybody else will have to follow us. It also provides unity, this elusive, sought after unity that we've been seeking in the black community for I don't know how many eons. Uh, it gives us that through black male group leadership. It provides a legacy and an heirloom for our posterity. It's something that we can hand down to our posterity. And the beautiful thing about it is that it allows for autonomy. That is to say, you don't have to stop what you're doing. You can belong to the same religion that you belong to. You can belong to the same organization that you belong to. But when it's time to mobilize on issues that I'm going to be talking about here very soon, we can all get together and address that issue. We can work in unison when it comes to dealing with issues of violence in black communities. Okay. Um, on the what was it? August 11th of this year and August 18th, we had two meetings. We had one on the at the New Promised Land Missionary Baptist Church on the west side of Chicago, and the following week we had a meeting uh, at the Lily of the Valley Spiritual Church on the south side of Chicago. And we were so gratified. I was so gratified to have the meeting because it showed that black men were stepping up to the plate, and we were really committed to deal with this issue of violence in black communities. We're not waiting for anybody else to pick up the paper in our own yards. We picking up the paper. We want the world to know that we're not negligent in dealing with this issue of ongoing violence in black communities here in the United States. On the 11th, that was a Friday, August 11th, after we were prayed in by Reverend Williams, he gave me, I took the podium and I shared with the audience the scenario that Reverend Washington told me when I stopped by his church on the Sunday. I was out doing flyer work that day. I was passing out flyers on the west and south sides of Chicago, and Reverend Washington took me outside and showed me a glass panel in front of the church where a hole was, and he told me that that was the bullet hole. And what had happened was a young black man had gotten killed by gunshots in front of the church. In front of the church. That's what astounded me so much. Now, bear in mind, a couple of days later, if you jog your memory a little bit, or if you do a little research, that was the 11th. On the 13th, here in Chicago, on the west side, at the Friendship Church, people were gunned down on the steps of the church. And you can only take so much. So by that, I was already irate behind uh, the ongoing killings here in Chicago. And then Reverend Washington showed me that glass panel bullet hole. And then this happened. And so that is why we call for a coalition, a national coalition against violent crime in America. And we purposely did that. We purposely wanted black men to make that call. I purposely wanted black men to make that call. I'm not saying that other people couldn't, can't join in. We want everybody. We want white, we want Mexican communities, we want Polish communities, we want everybody to join in. But initially, I wanted black men to make that call, and so we went ahead and structured these uh, two meetings on the west and the south side of Chicago as evidence. So we have proof that we did that, and uh, out of that national coalition against violent crime came another endeavor, which is a national uh, video archive collection, which consists of churches, organizations, and associations donating simple 1 to 3 minute videos who are in commitment with us and who detest this ongoing violent crime. We want that to be an heirloom, and we want to get 1,000, we want to get 1,500 videos, and we want to collect them. We want to alphabetize them. You can update your video whenever you want to. I started calling around the country to black churches. You can see the videos that have been donated so far. I can't devote. I could have many, many more, but I just can't devote my time solely to collecting videos. But we have about, I guess about 17, 18 videos on there. Um, Various kind of videos. We have the um Bronx, what is the name of it? Jubilee Dance Studio out of Bronx, New York, where the young ladies are doing kind of like the praise ballet type dance worship, praising God. We have churches. We have one Mexican church, the Iglesia Bethel, which is not far from where I live. We have organizations. We have Lifeline to Success out of Memphis, Tennessee. So when the people, if I can get a chance to talk to them, if they have videos online already, that really makes it very simple. All I have to do is just basically copy and paste the link and place it with the other archival videos. And so uh, that's one thing that we've been doing. Something else that I would like to share with you is the fact that in July of 2016, a Constitution for African Americans was drafted here in Chicago. I spoke about this document. I was invited in. I was not invited into WVON studios, but rather I was able to talk about this document on the Reverend Al Sharpton's show, Keeping It Real, open mic segment. And basically, what it is, it's basically if I had just boiled it down and make it simple, the Constitution C-228 C as in cat 228, C-228, so named because when it was drafted, when this document was drafted, it was 228 years after the um, ratification of the United States Constitution. And it's basically a to-do list for African Americans, for Black people here in America. And to give you an example of, well, what I did was, let me just back up a little bit. I wanted to make a case for a legal case for the justification for having a document like C-228. The language contained in this Constitution for African American is not subversive. It is not threatening. Uh, does not try to usurp the power, excuse me, of the United States Constitution. But, and I've done research on this, Native Americans, most of the tribes who have, or maybe even all, I don't know, but certainly some of them I've seen online, have constitutions uh, on lands that the government allocated to them to as compensation for the lands that were taken from them, uh, some hundred and so years ago. Some people call them reservations, but if you do a little research, if you Google and do a little research on treaties, Native American constitutions, it'll probably pop up, and they have constitutions on those lands, laws, and so forth. And so my thing was, if Native Americans can have constitutions, and maybe one or two more tribes up in Alaska also have constitutions, I think that African Americans are deserving of a constitution if the language is not threatening or subversive. Um, Jewel Cato, there's a federal case called Cato versus the United States, CATO versus the United States. And in that case, Jewel Cato and defendants sued the United States government, brought suit against the government for historical wrongs, for being kidnapped from their ancestral lands, brought to a country where they lost their heritage and identity, and the whole gamut of complaints that you probably have heard by now that African Americans have made as a result of the uh, history of slavery in this country for Black people. And the court ruled in that case. Also, Cato tried to make a case, had tried to make similarities between the uh, treatment of Native Americans as opposed to the treatment of Black people in this country. And to make a long story short, the court uh, the court opined that even though there might be similarities between the Native American experience in this country and the Black experience in this country, the United States had a unique, and I'm putting that word in quotations, unique relationship with Native Americans that they did not have with Black people, stemming primarily from treaty obligations. There were no treaties made with Native Americans, and my response to that was I wrote about this on that website, we-grow.net, was that the unique relationship that they had no legal basis with Black Americans, that with Black people, that they had with the Native Americans by virtue of the treaties made by the United States government with the different Native American tribe. And my response to that was the only reason that you didn't have a legal uh, similarity between us, how the government treated us and Native Americans, was because they chose not to. They could have had a legal uh, basis for dealing with Black people in this country. We can start out right away by talking about labor, contract for our labor. But as you know, we never made any, went into any contractual agreements with the United States government. And so that aside, all I'm saying is that if the language is not threatening in C228, nor is it subversive, that we should have a right to have Constitution if it's language in the Constitution that is uplifting, something that is going to benefit the Black community. Let me give you an example of one of the articles in C228. Article 7 deals with historically Black colleges and universities annual launch. And it says historically Black colleges and universities produce most of our Black doctors, lawyers, and educators. Knoxville College had only 11 students enrolled last year, but this was written in 2016, so that would have been 2015, and had to close its doors for a semester. $20 from 5 million uh, Black people would generate $100 million. Business investments to generate revenues for Black colleges should be our endeavor. In other words, we should have an annual launch every year. Everybody just give what they can give. That person give 100. That person give $2. Give what you can give, and we need to put that. We need to put that money, those revenues, into the coffers of our historically Black colleges and universities because they produce most of our Black doctors, our Black lawyers, and our educators. Article 8, health and longevity. All persons shall endeavor to employ proactive, that is to say, looking to prevent measures to promote good health and healthy lifestyles when possible. As health so affects the lives of the individuals, families, and communities, and the nations, spiritually, economically, socially, educationally, and civically. Health affects all of these different areas. So that should be a article in our Constitution is to think about your health, because your health determines how long you're going to be with your family. You got children around, you want to be around to see your grandkids and stuff like that. Let's make that a article in our Constitution. Okay, it's more than just lip service. We want to put something on paper. We want to have documents. One thing that I've always said is that we Black people, we have the intelligence, we have the financial wherewithal if we invested wisely uh, together, and that's very important. When you make investments together, that has a tendency to unify you more because now you've got something at risk together. You've invested together. Uh, the national position. I want to be clear on this one too, in case there might be some doubts because of the ongoing violence that's been going on in Black communities now, far too often and far too long. The national, and I don't have to take a poll, and I don't have to get on the radio and do all of this. The national position, Article 10 in C228, our Constitution, proposed Constitution, the national position of the vast majority of African Americans is that we do not condone violence unequivocally and without discussion. Yes, there's some people out there who may not agree with that, but by and large, Black people, we do not condone violence. I'm talking about uh, cold-blooded murder, that type of thing. Yeah, anybody's going to defend themselves or defend their family if the need arises. So we're not talking about that. Article 11, the nationwide annual Million Father March. That's a good one. Philip Jackson. I actually went out, I think that was 2015, to the Million Father March. I took some videos. It's on the website we-grow.net. This year I received uh, emails from the Black Star Project of Philip Jackson indicating that over 750,000 people had participated in the Million Man March, but that should be etched in stone. That should be one of the articles in our Constitution. Uh, Voting, Black communities. We want to call for a 90% Black voter registration, and out of that 90% Black voter registration, a 90% Black voter participation. Now, how we vote, people have different ideas about that. I went to a forum where the lecturer said that what you want to do is parade all of the candidates up on the stage and ask them specifically, what what are you going to do for black people? And the one that comes up with the best answer, that's who black people should vote for in a block. Okay, but however you want to do it. Okay, so I'm just saying, this is just another document. We need documents. We need documents to go along with our activities. We have the intelligence, the capability to uh, think outside of the box, to think adequately, and to think properly about how we need to deal with the issues that face us. We have the financial wherewithal if we invest it if we invest it wisely and collectively. And we also have the documents to serve as witness of what we're trying to put forth. Okay. I also want to talk to you this evening. Again, everything is about changing the character, the uniqueness, that which makes your character is what makes you unique, what makes you you, something that nobody else has. We want to change the character of the black community. We have too much, we've had too many murders and violence, incarceration, recidivism, youth behavioral problems, lack of respect, a spiritual decline with the number of church attendees. And I go to churches all over Chicago. Uh, I went to church. I went to churches when I was in New Orleans, so I'm familiar with churches, and I know that from the churches that I've attended here in Chicago, the larger churches, yeah, they still get their numbers, but sometimes I go to churches that may be 6 or 7 people in there. Okay, so we have to bring that back. That's been a part. That's been a part of our resilience. Black people's recognition of our Creator, looking to Him for help. That's a part of our history. And for some reason, we're abandoning that reliance more and more. And we got to bring that back. Another issue, black fathers, absentee fathers in many cases, uh, single parent homes headed by black women, absentee fathers. We have to bring that back. I was looking up something today, and I'm really not ready. I really don't. I really can't do it right now. I was intended to, but I was looking on the website early this morning about marriages. Remember the Moonies? How they used to have these group marriages. 50 people would get married at one time, and 100 couples would get married at one time. We have to bring back that institution. The impact of marriage upon a society is critical because it affects the as this um, information read that I was reading this morning. Solid marriages are the foundation and the staple of solid societies because it affects every area of society. It affects government, it affects education, it affects uh, employment, it affects people who are raised by two-parent households seem to fare better in life. When I was coming up, taking you back a little bit, uh, I can think of maybe 2 or 3 people out of all of the uh, girls and boys that I knew growing up who didn't have two-parent homes. Very few. By and large, even poor families had two-parent homes. And so we need to start looking at that again as far as bringing back that institution of marriage. The okay, here it is right here. The information that I retrieved that from was Mary Marripedia PEDIA.org. Effects of marriage on society. You can type that in. You can Google that. Okay. Again, uh, we have been talking about raising the bar, the Black Code of Conduct, the precepts. A precept is basically a societal or cultural understanding that goes without saying. Okay, something that everybody knows uh, is what you should do or what you shouldn't do. And so raising the bar, and I've had people say, "Man, you know, people are grown. You can't tell them what to do. That don't mean you can't ask." That don't mean that you can't create some type of a document that they may not know that people are asking that we have a black code of conduct. We want to see if we can put forth some type of a standard behavioral system. Okay, one, acknowledging our Creator. To relegate the destiny and contemporary life on this planet to the whims and decisions of man without seeking the wisdom of God is to welcome certain and chaotic destruction. Respect for life. We were put here to uh, become stewards of this planet. Mankind is required to regard fairness to non-human life. We are supposed to respect life, period. I just, personally speaking, I just don't go around. If a bug crawls on me, if I can, I'll just flick it off. Try not to kill it, you know. Um, so we were put here to respect life, including non-human life. Don't want to mistreat animals. We respect our planet. We were given the charge by God to become stewards of this planet. We want to involve scholarship, study, and education, vocabulary, biblical studies, personal study, pursuit of educational goals such as GED, doctorates are our goals. Learn and test yourself on 1 to 2 new words daily for a year will only increase your appetite for learning. Read your Bible, read your holy scriptures, whatever you believe in. Those who have the wherewithal to do so eat healthy. I think we went over that. Parents, create a standard daily motto or affirmation for yourselves and particularly for your children. I took a video out on the uh, northeast side, out in Rogers Park, so I guess 3, 4 years ago, with 2 young boys, Rashawn and Fitzroy, who are both reciting the daily affirmation. I will endeavor today. I will become a good student. Today, I will respect my overseers, for they are my mentors, my elders, and so forth. And you can actually see that video on the we-grow.net video. But yes, we need to have a standard daily motto or affirmation for ourselves and for our children. Single parents, seek parental support from groups and organizations who can help guide you through the long and responsible ordeal of being a parent. I recall walking across the street. Uh, I recall walking across the street last summer, stopped at a light, and it was a single black mom walking across the street with looked like a little 2 or 3 year old. You know how kids, they get to playing and start swaying out of the way, and the mother uh, got angry and just basically just cursed the kid out. And I thought that was awful. But the thought that came to me immediately after that I was able to discern some type of frustration that was probably due from loneliness, anxiety, and that type of thing. So what you want to do is you want to seek parental support from other groups and organizations. Try to do that. Uh, all black men, we want to respect all women. We don't care what they wear. We don't care how they look. We respect all women. That is a part of our standard code of conduct. Okay. Most recently, what we have been endeavoring upon early this year, one of the activities that got myself involved with is I was passing out the age of responsibility information to people downtown, wherever I got a chance to pass it out, asking that we embrace an activity, an age of responsibility uh, for our children. Now, I've come up with ages 10 to 12, ages 14 to 15, and before high school, and age groups 17 and 18 before high school graduation. Critical age group. I know for me it was 17 and 18. People are youth are really trying to find themselves, trying to find themselves as far as where they're going to fit in. Very go towards how are you going to end up in life, and so we want to try to help them out with that. What I'm talking about is, to give you an example, is a film, just a simple film, 45-minute, 1 hour film uh, where you have doctors, dentists, lawyers, educators, skilled tradespersons, uh, auto mechanics, uh, electricians, the church community, pastors, theologians, actors, entertainers, filmed. And in this film, we want them to encourage and exhort our young people to make them understand in clear and precise and adult language that we have a solid and real expectation for them to exceed personally as individuals and also collectively as a group because they are our future. They are the ones that are going to be at the helms of leadership in this country one day. And we need to do all that we can to make them become uh, leaders, responsible individuals in their homes, in their communities, and in school. Okay? Kids 10 to 12 years old in the black community, I don't know about in other communities, but I've actually gone over to parks and enlisted youth to do little small projects and gave them $20 and took them to McDonald's and that type of thing. And the language that I hear from 10 to 12-year-old black youth is the language that you could probably hear from somebody 16, 17, 18 years old, you know. And so you have the ability to talk to them. They can understand, most of them. But we want to let them know that they're no longer children, that they're coming close to an age now at 10 and 12 where you are responsible for your actions. You're not a kid. Put that cell phone down, put that basketball down. Your mom and I, young lady, young man, have a solid confidence in you. We expect you to succeed in life. We know that you can do it. And not only your uh, your uh, uh, your parents, me and your mom, but the parents of your friends, those friends of yours that come by the house, their parents have high expectations for you to succeed in life. And after you have that, you have a little party for them. You want to take them out, make it a part of our culture. You want when they have their national orientation day at those ages, 10 and 12 and 14 and 15. Uh, 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 17 and 18 before they go off to the military and to missionary do missionary work for the Lord, trade school and college. Very critical years. You have that discussion with them. As a matter of fact, uh, what I have deemed the youth who come through orientation, we're going to call the National Orientation Representatives, or NOR. You should have a NOR representative body at your high school, just like you have the Glee Club or the Student Council. The National Orientation Representative, those children, those youth, school children who have come through the orientation now, you give them the responsibility of being uh, peer motivators for their fellow students. You can even have a NOR representative, you can even have a NOR National Orientation Representative body at college as a way of always being able to exhort and encourage students to, I saw you drinking, I see you partying a little bit too much, and you look like you might be drinking a little bit too much, like I was doing when I was in college. Could have used a representative body there, someone who would basically provide that peer group pressure to remind you the purpose of your being in college. Could use that. Now, uh, just recently, and I've talked to a few teachers about this, and the teachers uh, really like the concept a lot. As a matter of fact, I hope to have this discussion on some of the subsequent shows that I'm going to have on IntellectualRadio.com. Might even let the teachers do the segment, and we want to discuss how we can implement the logistics of implementing the uh, National Orientation Week, or NOW. That's the acronym for it, National Orientation Week. Now, those youth who come through the National Orientation Week are referred to as NOR, the acronym NOR, National Orientation Representative. One way that we can do that, one thing that I've been doing already, as a matter of fact, is I've been asking people, I've done it, I've been asking people to fill out a family list. In other words, I've got about 17 to 20 family names, people in my family, both sides of my family, on my mother's side, on my father's side. I even have a step family because my mother remarried when she was 10, when I was 10. So I've got family members coming from 3 different areas, and I want them to be supporters of a National Orientation Week, because when I ask people, do you know, that's the first thing I ask them when I'm talking to them, when I'm canvassing the community. Do you know do you know people with children? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. We know people with children. Well, okay, you're a candidate, and they are a candidate for what I would like to share with you now. And then we talk about it. They all, do you know any teachers? A lot of them say, yeah, we know teachers. I just want to ask, Earl, how much time we got left? About 20 minutes. Got a long time left. Okay, I hope about 15. Okay, I hope I can fill it up. But yeah, we need to do that. We need to. What about how are we going to fund an activity like now, National Orientation Week? Well, I can tell you that we need to ask ourselves the question: how much do we love our children? You know, you got $10. Uh, if we can get $10 from uh, what, a million people, $10 million, that's enough seed money to start. Actually, the children, the uh, National Orientation Week, the age groups, those especially in high school, we should be able to come. We should be able to put forth a program, a economic endeavor that will allow children, our youth, to have a brand name apparel business. In other words, blue jeans, caps, shirts, jackets, and so forth. And would raise a lot of money. What would that money be used for? Well, I mean, you know, let's think out of the box and add some creativity to it. We could create jobs. We could employ tutors. You know, Rashawn or Rochelle or Maria is having problems with geometry. Perhaps we can employ and create jobs for people who can help tutor them. Maybe we could create summer jobs. Okay. What about the old trade schools we used to have? I hear people talk about that all the time. When they were in high school, they had some form of trade school, wood shop, and I think I heard somebody say something about there was some type of a generic auto repair shop in their high school. Okay, we could use the money and bring that back. Trade schools, something educational, and something that it's not going to be put and take. We want to put this in place and keep it around for a long, long time. Something that's going to be sustainable. It doesn't take. We're not going to disrupt any market enterprise, the free market enterprise, by buying uh, items from apparel items or jackets or something from a National Orientation Week business endeavor. You can still go to Best Buy and buy whatever you're going to buy. Go to Walmart and buy whatever you're going to buy. But everybody's got a few dollars during the course of a year that we would be able to support a business endeavor like that. Something that's important, something that's going to uh, save our children and keep them out of harm's way. Uh, I'm trying to see if there's something else that I can add on to this right now. I think I'm pretty much close to the end of my show, but I just want to say that I want to thank everybody for viewing in. I hope to have guests in the future. And as I indicated, that there might be a situation where I can just if their message is all about the upliftment of the Black community and the upliftment of people, then they can come in and sit in on this show in some time, and I might not even be here. But I want to reemphasize that black men, we want to take the lead. One thing that I didn't show you, I want to show you right quick, was this shirt that I have on. It reads lead, and then it has a logo that I created, the life cycle, where you see this little rise right here indicating a pregnant woman, and then the little head right there, that's a woman. That's the life cycle, and it represents the sanctity and respect that black people have for life. I don't care what's going on in the black community. Well, I do care. I'm not going to say that, but we're not going to let the violence that's been going on in black communities uh, change our minds and disrupt our respect that we have for life. We're always going to be reaching toward and reaching out toward protecting and preserving life. And this shirt actually serves a dual purpose. This shirt can also be used as a fundraiser. You know, we can black men, we can buy ladies, you can buy this shirt for your uncle, for your grandfather, for your brother. Black men, we can buy a shirt, and it reemphasizes when we see one another passing on the buses, in the L, in the terminals. It reemphasizing the need for black men to lead. That is a critical duty that we must uh, embrace over and over and over again until it becomes second nature to us. And with that, I think I'm going to close. I've wrapped up basically everything that I had to say tonight. And please, one other thing that I want to say, if we can tell everybody that you know to watch this show, because if we can get sponsors, if we can get the numbers out, then we might be able to get sponsors who would be willing to fund what the things that we need to do, what we've been talking about tonight. So tell everybody to watch the show. You watch it when you can. The show can also be viewed on YouTube. All you would have to do is go to YouTube and type in Black Community Unity, and it would come up, Earl. Yeah, you can watch it that way. So there's various ways you can watch. But I'm going to fervently be out there soliciting people to watch this show. I want to thank uh, Earl for his vision. This is awesome, man. Providing a forum where people can come in and share important information, not just my information, but there were people talking before me, made some very good points. I heard the brothers, you know, and other people that I've been watching on the videos. There's numerous shows that you can watch on IntellectualRadio.com. Okay, there's a list of them if you go there. So support this show. Gives everybody a great forum to come and talk about things that they want to do. You can call Earl. Earl, what's the number right there? What's the number? The number is 708-223-8953. I think the last time I talked to Earl, I don't know, he still had some slots open where if you have some information that you want to share with the public, give them a call. Okay. And again, I'm just going to say, make sure that you share this information, because the more viewers, the more opportunities. It's better for us as far as being able to obtain the revenue that we have. May God bless us all. Thank you.
My Lord, He calls me by the thunder, the trumpet.